We need you a chair. You can stand if you want to stand.
Next week I won't be able to.
Well, sit down, everybody. I'm going to sit. Well, I'm sure everyone knows by now, but and I'm sure you know why you're here, but there has been incredible things happen again to West Virginia. You know, we're truly on our way, and we're doing what I truly believe is the right thing, and it's the right thing for our citizens, and it gives us hope, it gives us jobs, it gives us real life. You know, not to belabor this in any way, but when I rolled in here, it was a pretty dismal situation, to say the least. And when you inherited a $500 million deficit, it wasn't any fun. And there was really nowhere to turn. And you know, at the same time, if you'll just be fair and just think, we had drained rainy day. We couldn't go back to rainy day. The coal business was dismal, to say the very least. What are you going to do? Where are you going to turn? And through, in my world at least, the blessings of the good Lord in every way, we went to work. We had an idea on building roads and creating instant jobs and bringing tourism and everything else to our state. Along the way, we had hired secretaries to head up our cabinet positions. I didn't ask ever, and still don't know to this day, you know, whether they be Republicans or Democrats or independents. I hired what I thought was the very best people. I've spoken many times about a superstar in Tom Smith, but we've got other superstars, and right there's one of them, Woody Thrasher.
At that point, I met in detail with the president of Shenhua, Dr. Ling, and we further strengthened what is already a good relationship that exists. And we specifically identified those projects that we were going to go forward with. The very next week, there was a delegation of 9 Chinese representing Shenhua that came to view this wide variety of projects, and they got into the weeds. They visited sites, they understood the nature of our petrochemical industry, and we specifically identified many possibilities for these projects. And it became critical that we come to consensus before President Trump visited China. Their goal was to announce these projects when President Trump visited China. Well, about 2/3 of the way into that week, we felt like this opportunity was slipping away. There was a Bloomberg News article that talked about projects going forward in Texas, Virgin Islands, and other states, and West Virginia was not mentioned. And I sent that to the governor, and the governor made it abundantly clear to me that these projects cannot slip away. He not only made it abundantly clear to me, he made it abundantly clear to the Department of Commerce and Department of Energy that these projects could not slip away. And I can tell you, I asked the Chinese delegation to stay for 2 more days, and we would have these issues resolved. Thanks to the governor picking up the phone and communicating with folks at Department of Energy and Department of Commerce, West Virginia's position on those projects was again elevated to the very top of that list. So thank you, Governor, for becoming intimately involved with these negotiations that ultimately resulted in us being able to return to China and sign the Memorandum of Understanding, which has been well documented in everyone's favor. But I would suggest to you that we all need to say thank you to our governor for becoming intimately involved with the details and to be making sure that West Virginia was not left behind. Forevermore, we have talked about it. allow me to give you a little bit of an overview why this is such an absolutely wonderful thing, I think, for the world. For years, we have argued about what a mistake it is for our United States companies to go to China, to invest in China, to build factories there, to utilize our technology there, and then to buy those finished products back. And it resulted in a substantial trade imbalance. Recognize this is the exact opposite of that. This is what everybody hoped would happen, is there would be a reversal of that process, and that's exactly what this is. These are Chinese dollars invested through Shenhua Corporation to build bricks and mortar facilities within West Virginia that will utilize our raw resources, convert those raw resources into value-added finished products that in turn are purchased back for use in China and other developing countries. If you were going to write a script, you could not write a more favorable script than what this is playing out to be. So as the governor says, you can look for the banana, but if you take what's absolutely very simple but very clear, this is the best thing that could possibly happen. Brian, let me turn it over to you a little bit to sort of talk about maybe some of the contemplated activities that will take place and why they make sense.
Sure. Well, thanks, Governor, and thanks, Secretary Thrasher. I don't know how much more there is to add. The opportunity that's right at our fingertips, as the Governor stated, certainly starts with manufacturing. It's about taking that raw material that we have, that we're producing from the prolific Marcellus and Utica shales, and once you strip out the energy portion of it that makes up natural gas, you're left with natural gas liquids, which are the building blocks to the entire manufacturing sector in polymers and plastics. And what we have in West Virginia is an opportunity at our fingertips that is once in a lifetime, where those natural gas liquids that we have in our region are the lowest cost raw materials on the face of the planet for the entire manufacturing sector. And so what this opportunity presented in front of us is taking those raw materials and adding value and manufacturing goods that consumers use every day, whether it's diapers or plastic bottles or toys, or the automotive components that are currently being built into our automotive sector to lightweight our vehicles. And so we're right now in West Virginia at the forefront of being able to manufacture those products and insert ourselves in the value chain for the entire manufacturing sector here in the United States. And so that's what the focus of this investment is about taking our raw materials and adding value. Because as my good friend Pat Getty, the president of the Claude Worthington Benedum Foundation, says, is that wealth is created where value is added. And so that's what we're focused on here, is creating wealth in the state of West Virginia by adding value to our natural resources. And briefly in the history of Shenhua, the Shenhua Group, now China Energy, as you see in all the announcements due to a merger, this is a company that has historically focused on adding value across the value chain, and they've done this in China from coal. They operate the world's largest coal-to-liquids plant, as the governor mentioned. They own these technologies earlier. And so a partnership between the state of West Virginia and China Energy, or its successor, the Shenhua Group, is certainly about the entire value chain. And this is a company that has the technology that is world-class, and they are the world leaders in making valuable products, not just electrons from coal. And so it truly is an exciting day, and I can add any more detail you would like, Secretary or Governor. So thank you.
Correct a little bit of that. That we were the first project announced. We were far and away the biggest project. We're a third of the total $250 billion announced. We're fully 1/3 of that. Right. And so we were the first people called up. And the president had a scowl on his face, which he'd had the whole time. And when he heard West Virginia, it was a smile. And I was just as close to the president as we are. And I said, the governor sends his regards. And with that, Donald Trump gave a big thumbs up, which I responded with a big thumbs up to him. But clearly there's a relationship there. Clearly West Virginia benefits from that relationship, not only now, but well into the future.
Or just general efforts by the state to assist, that you agreed to
Sure.
Wait a minute, I got to do this before you do this. Listen, do you realize these people could invest $80 billion plus in West Virginia, and you know what they asked for? Nothing. They asked for nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know why they asked for nothing? Because President Trump is on their you-know-what over there and everything, and he's demanding that we get a trade imbalance back in balance. They asked for nothing. Now, would we surely afford them the incentives that we afford others within our state? Absolutely we would. But at the same time, thus far, I can tell you they've asked for nothing.
I would echo the governor's comments. They have not specifically asked for anything. This doesn't have to be in West Virginia. There are other places it could be. We're fortunate to have the level of interest from them that we do. We certainly would afford them the same opportunities we offer to other folks that invest within our economy. So we certainly, would offer the same things up for them. But as the governor said, they have not specifically requested anything over and above what we normally do to attract business into our state.
Was that offered on the front end at all?
No, this thing came about because of relationships. These are relationship driven with a fundamental underpinning of a good business model that makes sense. And it's very much in the Chinese way. It's very much in human nature. You develop business relationships with people that you come to know and you trust. And our governor's relationship with President Trump, I think, is a major reason why we're here today, and it's not in Ohio or Pennsylvania or other locations. So I think we have the governor to thank for that relationship. When you tie that into the fact, it just fundamentally makes good business sense for both parties. It exudes credibility. Rusty?
Y'all keep